She secured her standing ovation, and fans imagine those tears flowed because a quiet breakup morphed into total chaos. This unfolding nightmare finds feelings, accusations, and messy timing colliding spectacularly. Hours after their split, things seemed simple. The romance died publicly and permanently. Megan Thee Stallion seemingly drew hard lines, dumping partisan Fontaine and finishing that chapter before the world. But that piece vanished because instantly a toxic discourse erupted. People didn't just doubt the finale, they questioned every single moment preceding it. Fueling that fire were rumors, unconfirmed but viral, hinting that Megan's public outburst wasn't random but actually brewing for months. The gossip suggested friction, massive gaps between their polished image and her actual reality. A bond that looked solid apparently hid immense pressure underneath the surface. Then everything shifted. Whispers of receipts started surfacing, citing evidence, specific moments, and a timeline that was allegedly witnessed rather than just guessed. This segment serves as the messy emotional anchor where unhinged reactions meet dark implications, shifting the vibe from petty gossip to something far more sinister. Once the threat of receipts enters the chat, the entire narrative evolves. It pivots from whispers to probability, from probability to wild interpretation, and from interpretation to a scandal that literally reshapes itself in real time. But just as that drama settles, a familiar name resurfaces. Leilani Capnis, unconfirmed and unaddressed, yet she is consistently linked to these unfolding allegations. When a third party enters a mess already under intense scrutiny, they do not need confirmation to cause absolute wreckage. They just need alignment. Alignment in timing, alignment in the narrative, and alignment in the speculation. Because when those toxic elements overlap, the story stops being linear. It becomes layered, forcing fans to look backward and revisit earlier moments. We are re-examining interactions that once seemed totally insignificant, questioning if what we saw was ever the full truth. As those questions multiply, that moment provides zero answers. It amplifies pure uncertainty. It keeps this mess open, unresolved, and actively evolving because without a definitive receipt, every tiny detail becomes flexible. Every silence becomes incredibly meaningful and every gap becomes a void where new theories can fester, which is exactly what is happening now because this disaster is no longer contained. It is expanding, driven by wild interpretation, fueled by speculation, and sustained by a total absence of clarity. As it expands, the stakes skyrocket because what began as a simple breakup is now being reframed as something more complex, something potentially sinister, something that definitely did not start where the public first noticed it. Which brings the tea back to one central question. Was this a sudden exposure triggered by raw emotion, or the result of something that had been quietly unfolding long before it reached the surface? The narrative did not stabilize after the first wave. It intensified what initially appeared to be a contained fall. This segment serves as a major pivot where reactions transform into dark implications and the audience begins reconsidering the entire timeline. Because if that response was driven by something already discovered, then the exposure isn't spontaneous, it's reactive. But just as that theory gains traction, another element enters the frame. One that complicates this mess even further. The continued mention of Leilani Capnis, unverified, unconfirmed, yet consistently present in the tea. Consistency in a situation this toxic becomes influence. Because when the same name appears across multiple interpretations, it anchors the narrative even without a single receipt. Which is why the focus is shifting again from reaction to connection, from connection to possible overlap. Once the idea of overlap is introduced, the timeline itself becomes unstable because now fans aren't just looking at what happened after the breakup. They're looking at what might have been happening during it. That shift pulls the past into the present. Earlier interactions, prior associations, moments that once appeared isolated are now being reconsidered as part of a broader pattern. Not confirmed, not proven, but persistent enough to influence perception. That moment reinforces the uncertainty. It doesn't resolve the narrative. It expands it, keeping multiple interpretations active at the same time. Because now there isn't one version of events. There are several. One where the breakup stands alone. Another where it reflects a response to alleged external involvement. And a third where it represents the culmination of something that had been developing gradually. Each version remains incomplete. And that incompleteness is what drives the escalation, because without a definitive account, every new detail becomes a potential anchor point for a different interpretation. And as those interpretations circulate, that point doesn't confirm the claims, but it anchors the reaction. It explains why the response was immediate, and why it carried a level of intensity that suggests more than a surface-level disagreement. Because if the reaction was rooted in prior awareness, then the exposure is not sudden. It's the release of something already known. But just as that idea begins to stabilize, another layer re-enters the discussion. The continued presence of Leilani Kapanis in the narrative. No direct confirmation, no official linkage. Yet the consistency of the association has made it central to the way the story is being interpreted. And when a narrative includes a third element that cannot be fully verified or dismissed, it creates tension that cannot be resolved easily. Because now every version of events must account for it, either as coincidence or as connection. And that uncertainty is what drives the narrative forward. Because without resolution, the story expands. It pulls in past references, revisits earlier moments, reframes interactions that once appeared neutral, and in doing so, it creates the possibility of a pattern not confirmed but repeatedly suggested. That segment reinforces the instability. It keeps the narrative open, allowing multiple interpretations to exist simultaneously without closure. Because closure requires certainty, and certainty is what this situation lacks. Instead, what exists is accumulation. Claims layered on claims, interpretations built on interpretation, and a timeline that is continuously being reconstructed in real time. As that reconstruction continues, the focus shifts again from what happened to how it is being understood. Because at this stage, the narrative is no longer defined by a single perspective. It is shaped by the interaction of many: public reaction, media framing, speculation cycles, and the silence that exists between them. And that silence, particularly from those directly involved, continues to act as a catalyst, because in the absence of clarification, interpretation fills. I am over here learning your grandmother's business. Once that void is filled, separating perception from possibility becomes impossible, which is why the drama stays viral. Not because new tea is constantly being spilled, but because existing receipts keep getting reinterpreted. As long as that spiraling continues, the narrative cannot settle, bringing us back to the toxic question defining this entire mess. Is this a story that has already revealed its core with speculation just reaching? Or are we still seeing only a fraction of a narrative that has yet to fully surface? Now the drama isn't slowing down. It is spiraling, because what started as a breakup turned into a nightmare that refuses to die, where every allegation pulls the situation deeper into chaos. Megan Thee Stallion stepped forward, emotions high, words sharp, and suddenly the vibe shifted from simple speculation to something that feels far more personal. At the center, Pardison Fontaine remains largely silent. That silence is creating more noise than any actual statement could. No full denial, no detailed explanation, just enough space for theories to build, connect, and explode across the internet. Then there is Leilani Kapanis, a name that keeps resurfacing, keeping the narrative unstable, unresolved, and impossible to ignore. Not confirmed, not clarified, yet powerful enough to reshape how people are viewing everything. Because now this isn't just about what happened. It is about what might still be hidden. People are digging deeper, questioning timelines, reanalyzing moments, and trying to piece together a version of events that no one has fully confirmed. That is where the tension hits hardest. Because once a story reaches this level, it doesn't fade, it escalates. So now the spotlight is locked in place, the questions are multiplying, and the narrative is still unfolding in real time. Was this just an emotional reaction that went public, or the first crack in something much bigger? Sound off in the comments, because this isn't over, and whatever drops next could flip the entire script again.